We are here.
Yeah, baby.
It's only fitting that you know the opening theme to our show
Happens to be
is the last band you saw.
is the last band I saw in concert, and it was fantastic. But I won't bore everybody with that.
No, okay. Um, Welcome everybody. We're at episode number 67. 67
Dang,
episodes. Yeah, it just flies by, right?
that's crazy. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, we are just under a week away from the national. There's a lot of things to really look forward to, and I would say majority of the people are definitely saying the show is kind of secondary to the people, and that is first and foremost the most exciting part is to kind of have everybody that you see digitally in person now under one roof. So I'd say that is what most people seem to be very excited about. It's kind of hard to not be excited about the show though in some ways because there are certain dealers that will be there that just kind of capture a certain amount of attention. Obviously, there's the large scale dealers that do so, but I also did my five vintage dealers to check out at the national that I just posted yesterday, and they showcase a lot of some of I'm not going to say smaller dealers, but dealers that kind of specialize in a particular inventory.
I saw a little oversized in that one. I also saw I saw a Babe Ruth Butterfinger at the Garfield video that you did. I was
Yes.
keep an eye out. So,
Yeah.
you know what, Sammy? And I haven't done a video in like 14 days. I'm going out of town, so I'm going to do one tonight while I'm sorting cards, and it's going to be talking about the national. It seems to me like it's kind of the buzz has died down, at least in our community a little bit, but the reality behind it is once we're there, it's absolutely awesome. I'm only going to be there for 2 days. I had to cut it short because I'll be out of town next week. So, but those 2 days, I'm looking forward to it. I'm guessing I might even see you, Sammy. I'm thinking we might hang out a little bit.
Pretty soon we will.
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday, right?
Yep, Thursday and Friday. So
okay. So you're going to be there, I guess, for I'm confusing the dates of when the special events are happening, but I think the YouTube get together is on Thursday.
I think it's Thursday. Friday? Yeah, I think it's Thursday's the YouTube get together. There's a couple things going on. So
yeah, like Friday, like Shula's Joe's is going to be slammed every single day.
Correct.
And then Wednesday is typically the Misfits Day where they hang out the Lowe's bar.
Yeah.
And the one thing I'll disagree with you on is the fact that I don't think it's dying down. I think it's actually only the buzz is only kind of just going up. And we brought in our special guest tonight, Marc Mandel of AuctionWire, because he's somebody that is kind of just embracing that buzz. And through the company AuctionWire that he has founded, there's a lot to be excited about. And we're going to be talking a lot about AuctionWire and the impact that it's had. You could say at card shows, but most importantly, being able to kind of have everything under one website, essentially.
Yep.
Being able to type in a player, type in probably, I'm guessing like a set, but I mean, Mark's going to share more details about that. I've used it particularly for finding Christy Mathewson stuff. And it just saves me time. Instead of having to go to REA's website, having to go to Heritage's website, having to go to Golden's website, eBay, dealers' websites, particular dealers' websites. Instead of having to search website by website, having like 10 or 11 tabs open, just have it under one website.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic idea. When we had Leighton on, it kind of sparked in my mind that what a fantastic thought process that was and how to get to that point. And
yeah,
getting a little bit of detail here from Marc, I think will be very helpful. So that's kind of cool. I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, and so Marc's going to take us through a demo as far as how AuctionWire works. And actually, we have a special code you can sign up with, which is Thunder. You can use Thunder, which I'll put in the chat for everybody that's interested. You can use the code Thunder to sign up. But let's go, before we dive into like the codes and so forth, let's bring Marc in. Marc, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It's so fun to be here. Thanks for having me. It's going to be a fun chat.
Absolutely. I got to say, I am a huge fan of the website. I found it to be so resourceful in so many ways. It's opened my eyes to like a lot of, like, I'm a huge Mathewson collector. That's just who I am.
You and me both.
Yeah.
Christy's a good guy.
And it's great to be able, I mean, it's great to be able to just type in, you can type in Christy Mathewson, you can specify filters, how much you want to spend, like what your budget is, what the grade specification, the options you want. You can go really, really deep into the advanced filtering of it, and it will give you everything you want.
That's the idea. That's really why we built it, to make it quick. See, it was a challenge. You know, we know at the end of the day, cards for most of us are a hobby, and hobbies are supposed to be fun. So we can't figure out a way to kind of put too much tech in play where it kind of sucks the fun out. But we wanted to kind of suck the effort out, but keep the fun. And that's what we set out to build.
So I kind of consider that, what I would say, Sammy, is that's for the old men like myself. You know, make it effortless, keep it fun, and keep the older guys like the get off my lawn guys like myself. Hey, this is pretty simple, and this is doing everything I want with a couple clicks.
That's exactly.
Sammy's the tech guy, so he could dig in a little deeper.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. You know, we wanted to do everything that we could do to make it easy for people, collectors, investors, dealers, whomever, whatever lane you're in the hobby, to kind of get the cards that they want advantageously without a whole lot of effort. And when I say cards, I mean the word cards kind of almost generically now, because we've added, you know, autographs, we're adding game used and other types of memorabilia. And at some point, dare to dream, we're going to go well beyond sports and even go to, you know, comic books and coins and stamps and whatever else people collect in the broader collecting hobby, not just the sports collectibles world. And so there's almost unlimited upside in what we're looking to do here.
That's fantastic.
So, I mean, the idea is genius. It's a great idea. So walk me through kind of like where the thought came from. Like, what was the origin? Like, were you on a website, like an REA website, like, going from auction to auction? I don't know. You know, it's you. Was that the origin or something?
It wasn't as complicated as that. You know, so I'll tell you the story very truthfully. You know, I retired from having my day job a couple of years ago. And from a career perspective, I've been a career technology company guy, mostly software company guy, in the areas of kind of AI lately, and data and analytics and business intelligence, and using data to learn stuff. And I've done that for, I don't know, 25 years or whatever. And when I retired, I wanted to fill my time. And I remembered for most of my life, I had one hobby since I'm 8 or 9 years old, which was card collecting. You know, I was a vintage baseball kid at 7 years old. I discovered Christy Mathewson, Cy Young, Walter Johnson, Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, you know, fill in the blank, when I'm 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, buying those cards, as opposed to, you know, going to the corner store to buy packs. And when I retired from the job, I said, you know, I really wasn't ready to retire and really just plant myself on the couch and do nothing. So I said, I wanted one more thing before I really hung it up. And I said, I want to take the two things I love the most, card collecting and kind of data and analytics and AI, and see if I could put these things together. But I really had no specific detailed plan at that point. I was just new conceptually. I wanted to do something like that together. And I spent a couple of months trying to formulate the plan, and I struggled. I was not having that big aha moment. And I'm in my car driving around near home, and I'm listening to card podcasts on my radio in my car. And I come across Leighton Sheldon's show, the Trading Card Therapy show that he does. And he had a guy, Derek Grady from Heritage Auctions, on this, to give you a time frame, this was around December of 2024. So Leighton and Derek were having a conversation on the show, which turned into, what do you really think this hobby that we love so much, what new idea do you think this hobby would benefit from? And it turned into, like, Derek had a perspective. He said, look, Leighton, I work at Heritage. He said, I've worked there 15, 20 years. I think it's a great company. He said, but I collect. And as a collector, I might buy at Heritage today and REA tomorrow and Mile High the next day and Memory Lane after that and eBay after that and whatever. And he said, the amount of time and effort that goes into remembering who's got what, when, for how much money, when do they open if it's an auction, when do they close if it's an auction, is monstrous. And he said, I wish somebody would figure out a way to put it all in one spot. And guys, I literally almost crashed my car listening to them say this. I was like, that's the thing. I was looking for that thing, and that was that light bulb. And I went, I know how to do that. I can build that. So I had known Leighton casually. I was a customer of his. Mm-hmm. And I called him and I said, hey, I listened to the show. I want to do this. Let's go. Since the idea and the kind of the germ of the idea came from your show, I said, let's do it together. So we got together at the Philly show that March of last year. And we kind of shook hands and said, okay, we're doing it. And we spent most of 2025 into early 2026 building what became AuctionWire. And we opened for business at the Philly show this current year back in February. And so we've been publicly in business now for coming up on 5-6 months. Mm. And we're every day, we're growing a little bit. We're getting better at what we do. And one of my favorite things is getting calls from people saying, I'm using AuctionWire and I found the card that I was looking for. I've been looking for that card for 4 years and I got it thanks to you. And just like the big success stories. And it just blows my mind when it happens on a lot. It happens all the time. And it's wonderful to hear those stories. I get so motivated and so charged up. Almost as charged up as listening to Rush before on what kind of what we call the walk-up song.
So Dave from Peacemaker Cards, he actually mentioned I made my first purchase of a card I found on AuctionWire a couple weeks ago. Diamond Stars, Paul Wayner.
There you go.
Very cool.
So I'll give you an example I'll give you a real world example of what I'm talking about. I'm not going to name names because he hasn't given me permission.
Okay.
But I was at the Strongsville show a couple months back. And at the Strongsville show, I was approached by a gentleman who's a relatively public figure in the collecting world. And he said, I subscribe to AuctionWire, but I haven't really tried it. He goes, I'm going to be home in a few days. Could you do me a favor and do like a Zoom with me and walk me through how to use the tool? I said, happy to. And we get on a Zoom call. We spend like 45 minutes going through the whole system, and he's understanding it quite well. And when the call was wrapping up, he says, can you do me a favor? He goes, because this is a search engine, right? He goes, yeah, it's basically a search engine right now. He said, can you search for a guy? I want to see what you can get. And I said, I'm happy to. What do you want me to search for? And he said, look for a guy named Isaac Murphy. And I'm thinking, I don't know who Isaac Murphy is.
Neither do I. I
got no idea who this guy is, but I said, let's try. So I'm typing in Isaac Murphy into AuctionWire. And I'm thinking, I might as well ask him before I hit enter, who is this guy, just in case something weird happens. And he says, Isaac Murphy back in the 1880s was pretty much the first very successful black jockey in horse racing. And there was a card that he was looking for from like the 1887, 1888, 1889 timeframe of him. And he's been looking. So I go, oh, this is a 140-year-old horse racing card. This is never going to happen.
Right.
There's a 0% chance this is going to be a successful test. And I hit enter. And I tell you guys, I'm going to try to recreate what he did. He gets up out of his chair and he gets this close to the screen. and I said, what's going on? And he said, that very first card right in the corner of your screen. I've been looking for that. He goes, there it is. It's one of these, like a Goodwin kind of card that came up.
Right.
And he said, I saw one a few years ago. I think it was at Heritage. He said it was like a one, and it was beat to hell. And it was overpriced. And here's one sitting at, if you guys know Scott Russell, he runs the Collector Connection auction. Yeah. Scott had one for sale. This gentleman knew nothing of Scott or Scott's auction company. But because it was part of the AuctionWire portfolio, he was able to show up, and it was showed up front and center on the guy's screen. And you could see he got like giant saucer eyes.
So
I don't
mean to stop you, but there's somebody, a friend of ours in the chat is claiming that you might be talking about him. Was the guy Australian?
he was definitely from the other side of the world.
That is definitely.
We know that guy.
Yeah, we know that guy.
The minute you said a jockey card, I kind of had a hunch who it was. So
Yeah, Carl.
Yeah,
is
so,
the best.
Carl's a good man. Carl's a really good man.
he's
And,
a fantastic
Crazy
man.
though.
he's a wonderful collector, and it was just fun to watch him light up when he saw this card show up on the screen and to be available to him right there, right then.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a great personal great story, but it also kind of just shows again the impact of finding. And I'm a big surveyor of finding rare cards. I love stuff like that. But I mean, that's just the amazing power at being able to use something like AuctionWire to a collector's advantage. Is seeking out that needle in a haystack.
Exactly. And the neat thing about it, there's really two scenarios, kind of two big picture scenarios. It's the scenario that you could go into AuctionWire and do a live search right now. It'll go out and kind of canvas all these companies to see who's got what that meets your search requirements. But some of us collect such stuff that doesn't come up very often, right? It might be a card that you might see twice a year. And I'll give you an example. Like I gave up of all my own PC, the card that I gave up that I'm kicking myself in the butt for giving up, and I don't normally give up my cards, was a 33 Gaudi Nap Lajoie card.
That's a big card.
It's a very hard to get card.
That's a big card.
Right. And the reality is I gave it up for foolish reasons, but nevertheless, and now I want one back. And I've been looking, and a few weeks ago, Heritage turned out to have two of them, but they went above my pay grade. But interesting enough, so they came and went, but I watched them closely on AuctionWire.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a notification, hey, there's one that showed up at Fanatics Collect auction. And it was cheaper and it was nicer. So now I'm keeping a very close eye on that one in the hope that maybe I could pick this up before it's too late. But I could tell you that the idea that either it's a live search that's going to give you kind of a point in time, I want to know what's available right now, or these saved searches that let you go off into the future and say, I don't care if it's coming up at REA or Heritage or eBay or whomever, or Scott Russell's company, get me and let me know through a notification, hey, we found you one, come take a look. And it really makes it harder to miss and to overlook and kind of have that FOMO feel of, man, I forgot it was there and it closed last night and I could have gotten it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it can come back and it does the legwork. It'll find those cards whenever, wherever they pop.
So what was the process, Mark, in gathering the portfolio of who you got into? Because there are so many auction houses and eBay and ComC and so many places to go. Take us through the process of that, of how it was to build that?
It's evolved so very much. I remember vividly running around the National last year, Leighton Sheldon and I going from set up auction company to set up auction company, begging them for their data. Went to Brian Dwyer at REA, may we please have your data. We went to Jeremy Donson at CIA, may we please have your data. We went to Brian Drent at Mile High, may we please have your data, and so on and so forth. And that has kind of flipped. Once we became, at least stable and had some proof of success, now some of these auction guys and people who own marketplaces have come to us and said, hey, how do I get my inventory in your system? So the conversation's kind of reversed itself from where we were about a year ago. And then about 4 months ago, we said we've been doing auctions. We called the product AuctionWire because we were really focusing on auctions. And then we said, well, we also have some of these public marketplaces, eBay, Buy It Now, and others. And then we say, well, how about private dealers? And so I was walking around the Strongsville show, and I walked up to Ash's table. And I said, hey, can you be our guinea pig? I'd love to put legacy cards in AuctionWire and let you promote your inventory to my users. He said, knock yourself out. So we did that. Then Garrett Wells came in from Ballpark Memories, and then Leighton came in with Just Collect. And then Adam Wise came in with Wise Guy cards, and a handful of other guys showed up with their inventories. And now we have probably 8 or 10 private dealers and more coming. So the whole we're trying to broaden the formula, but people have been broadly coming to us lately and saying, I would benefit from getting, I'll tell you an example. Again, I will name a name here because I think it's worth saying. I was at Disney World with my wife in Florida, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, call it last month, earlier last month. And it's an evening and I get a text on my phone from Jeremy Donson at CIA. And Jeremy says, I owe you a big thanks. I said, for what? What did I do? He said, we just closed what turned out to be CIA's biggest auction back then ever. They had their biggest card in the biggest auction, which was a 52 tops mantle. It was a PSA 2 and it closed at $102,000, which was about 30 grand over comps for that card, plus or minus a little bit. And he said, not only was it a biggest and most important card, but the buyer came from AuctionWire. And so he was able to kind of trace the breadcrumbs back to say, that buyer was this guy. I don't to this day know who bought the card, but he does. And he was able to go backward and say he came because of this connection. And he was elated. He was thrilled that somehow I served him up a high quality, high intention buyer willing to bid that card up and buy it at over 100 grand.
Mm.
Yeah, I would have to believe that, once you get it off the ground, which is what you did, and you kind of said it reversed, and that makes sense to me, it becomes another leg or another finger for that particular person or company to promote their business, right? I mean, and that's proof in the pudding when you're getting high paying buyers coming through another leg, if you will. So I think
at the end of the day, we don't charge the auction guys or marketplaces anything to be in here.
That's fantastic.
Right? All we want is good, reliable data.
Right.
So right. I kind of answered this. I think I answered this in the chat for Andrew, but I think it's is AuctionWire a great helpful tool for cards of all budgets? And I think definitely so.
Yep.
You can get something from probably like as little as $10 all the way to thousands.
You could go on ComC and buy a 99-cent card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say if eBay Buy It Nows and ComCs are out there, you can literally look at dollar cards if you wanted to.
Exactly. And people have a general misunderstanding about auctions. They go, auctions are expensive.
They can be.
And sure, auctions do carry big cards, but they also carry regular cards. You think about, you pick up any of the auction catalogs from one of the big companies. They'll put, a big fancy card on page 1 of their catalog or page 1 of their website. But you go to page, 173 and you're looking at, 1951 Bowman Commons.
Right.
Right. And so the reality is you get price points all over the place. You get, different levels of collecting. But the reality is that the high visibility cards tend to be the big ones. Mm-hmm. So the reality is what we've been able to do is there's an AI aspect of AuctionWire. And we built our own proprietary AI system that has become very smart about card collecting. And it knows the difference between types of cards and grades of cards and manufacturers of cards and all the formula, what makes a card. And now it can make recommendations. And so sometimes it may say, hey, you have a collecting style, because it watches what I might click on or what I might look like I'm researching. And it's going to make some assumptions that, hey, I'll tell you the story here that I told the other night on the other show, because it's I think a neat story that illustrates the point. I grew up in New York City. I grew up a Yankee fan. I grew up a Yankee fan of the 1970s. And my earliest memory of a baseball situation with my dad was going to the 1976 Yankees Kansas City Royals playoffs at Yankee Stadium. And if you guys remember what made that series uniquely special to a Yankee fan was a guy named Chris Chambliss. Right? He had a big walk-off home run in Game 5 and locked it up, against Kansas City. And I remember how everybody that night, it was like 11 o'clock at night. So everybody went bananas at Yankee Stadium when that happened. They were running on the field. It was crazy. And it was so exciting for me. I was an 11-year-old. My mind was blown by what was happening. So much so that years later, I'm going to try to pick this up and have it show up in the camera. And when I bought a picture of the home run that night that I had Chambliss sign, but what made it kind of fun was if I look over Chris Chambliss's shoulder in the picture, I could see my father in me.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's cool.
About 10 or 11 or 12 rows back into the stands. So my dad's long gone now, but I remember that night like a permanent memory in my head about, boy, that was a really special night with my dad, going to the Yankee Stadium, Chris Chambliss, big walk-off ninth inning home run, all the formula for like a storybook thing. So I started getting sentimental about it. So I went on to AuctionWire and I started searching for Chris Chambliss stuff. I was going to buy, a cheap card. I was going to buy like a 1976 Topps Chris Chambliss card just because. And the more I searched for those cards, the more AuctionWire said, he seems to like Chris Chambliss cards. So it'll start to formulate recommendations. And so I'm maybe a week later, I'm out and about and I get an email on my phone. And it says, hey, I found you something you might want to take a look at. And it was this ticket from that night, autographed by Chris Chambliss. And the seats are about 3 seats over from where we were sitting.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That is fantastic.
I wasn't looking for an autographed ticket. It just kind of put 2 and 2 together and said, hey, you might like this thing. Come take a look. And I jumped. I was like, I'm all over this thing at that point. And it wasn't a big expensive buy. It was, a few $100s to buy. It was on eBay.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And I would have to assume that's kind of just that's the AI portion of it. It's no different than when you create a playlist and you're listening to a type of music, it starts to recommend music that might be similar.
It's exactly this. I compare it to Netflix. You go into Netflix to watch a movie. It says, hey, here's 6 more you might like.
Yes, exactly.
Right? It's the same sort of thing. It's what they call a recommendation engine. So what we're trying to do, I was saying something the other night and it really resonated. I said, I'm trying to recreate the experience of building what could be, electronically speaking, the world's largest card show. Because imagine going to the National next week. Like, people are going to walk into the building in Chicago and they're going to walk from table to table and they're going to look in cases and they're going to say what's out there. Some people come with lists, some people don't. But at the end of the day, people will, at least I will look in almost every case to go, not just what I'm looking for, but what catches my eyes. Mm-hmm. Right. And I give the example. I say, I'm a mantle guy. And, let's just pretend I was out there to look for a 54 Bowman Mickey Mantle card. Right. And AuctionWire might come along and say, well, here's a bunch of those, but have you considered a 54 Dandy Mickey Mantle card?
Right.
Right. And if I was doing that at a show, I might say, I've never heard of a Dandy Mantle card, let's just say. And I could then ask to the dealer, what's that? Oh, that came with potato chips. It was in the bag and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Wow, cool. Now all of a sudden I'm all about wanting a Dandy Mantle, right? Or I'm all about wanting a Red Heart dog food mantle or whatever these kind of adjacent cards to the one I was looking for was. And we're trying to take that whole idea of discovering something that you weren't really looking for, but is kind of related to it and recreate that electronically in here.
That's fantastic. And the bonus to that is the one bonus that I see to AuctionWire is I've got a small group of friends, Marc, who actually don't buy that much at card shows because what they're looking for typically isn't at a card show. They are auction guys.
Sure.
So the ability to go to one-stop shop AuctionWire and check 6, 7, 10, 20 auction houses for what they're looking for, that's right up their alley. That's perfect.
We're going to walk into the National next Wednesday with 60.
Wow. Jeez.
Right. We're kind of in crunch time now, getting the last batch of them integrated and debugged so that we can get them up and running. So come next week, our goal to walk in with not less than 60.
And there's new auctions popping up, like Rabbit Hole Auctions is like a year or 2 old, right? They're fairly new. Yep. We've got another person in the community, Ryan Nolan's going to create an auction house for non-sport cards. Yep. I mean, there's constant movement and motion. And what do you guys do to continue to keep up with it? Do you have a dedicated team just kind of hawking that, or you? That's what. Okay, for
Yeah,
now,
it's
right?
me. For the most part, it's latent in me. Doing what we can to connect with people and to explore ideas with them. And it's not real hard, at least on the getting a auction company like you mentioned Rabbit Hole. So get a guy like Justin Hirsch. Get a guy like Justin to come along and say, I want to be part of this.
Right.
And it took one phone conversation between Justin and me, and he's in. Right. It didn't take a lot of convincing.
Right. Right.
He's a new auctioneer, and he wants as many eyes on his stuff as possible. And my job is to provide him quality eyeballs.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's the whole mission for him. And the flip side's also true. If you're the customer, the user, you want lots of cool inventory. Yeah. Right. And so you realize this becomes kind of an ecosystem, right? Where you have on one side, you have the auctioneers and the dealers. And on the other side, you have the buyers and collectors. And the better you do on one side, the better the other side enjoys it.
Oh yeah, it's a
yin and yang.
Totally. So you think about like if I could bring on 20 more auction companies and all their inventory. Right now, there's more stuff for users to go browse, which means this is a more attractive product for users. More users come along. The more users that come along, the more auction companies will say, well, how many users do you have? Right? And all of a sudden, the number is bigger. Oh, I want to be part of that. Okay, cool. Let's go do that. So the circle just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to make sure that everybody gets ample value out of this whole thing so that it really works.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love the idea.
I know you like. So I think a lot of the people that are watching, and then myself included, probably Jason, we want to see. We have the demo prepared for tonight. I'm going to bring it up for you. I want to, let's see this all the way through.
Sure. So this, by the way, is our website. You're going to see what we've done here. The story we're telling on the website with the kind of rotating green thing. As I said, we're not just cards anymore. We started out as cards. Right, so now it's search every card, search every collectible. In a second, search every ticket. In a moment, you say every autograph. And by the way, cards can be for people in different lanes. Like I'm a vintage baseball guy, but there's a lot of people out there who love Pokemon, for example.
Oh yeah,
right. And so I don't want to turn my back on the Poke crowd.
No, you can't. You can't. It's too big. You can't.
So the Pokeverse.
We brought in 6 million Pokemon cards now in this thing. Right? And so we have 21 million sports cards. We have about 6 million Poke cards and going up. And the reality is we're trying to cover multiple lanes. People I know very closely are moving sometimes, or they're balancing or rebalancing their collection from cards to cards and fill in the blank. And one of the big areas that people are going to is ticket collecting. So we built a whole ticket system in here for people who love historical tickets. So like one of my colleagues on AuctionWire is a gentleman you guys probably know. I think, Sammy, you definitely know him, Ryan Hotchkiss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So he's the co-host of the Net 54 meetup in Virginia, amongst other things. And he's a killer vintage guy. And his collection's like gaga. And he's systematically selling some of his cards and rediverting that money into tickets. And so he went out and very publicly bought some big tickets. So he bought like Jackie Robinson's debut game ticket, and I think one of the nicest graded ones out there.
Wow.
It's a 6-figure buy for that ticket.
Sure.
Or he was showing me recently, he's even getting historical non-sports tickets. So he bought a pair of tickets to the night that Abraham Lincoln was shot at the theater.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy that even exists. And he's
right. So I think he said there's 5 that are known to exist. He has 2 of the 5.
Wow.
Signed by John Wilkes Booth. Now.
It was like blood splatter on the
right.
He said no, but nevertheless. So AuctionWire is trying to cover all these kinds of bases, and I think it's important that we say that. So when I go into AuctionWire, this is my AuctionWire screen, and I'm going to give you guys, just for the sake of a quick introduction, just a little bit of an intro here. I mentioned before that we built this thing as really a search tool, first and foremost. So you could type whatever you want to search in the box here. We have an advanced search here. You can pick, what companies you want to search for. So we have dozens of companies here that might be of interest to you. You can specify, as you said earlier, price ranges and grades and years, and kind of narrow in that search, or just keep it wide open. And so for me, if I was to say, for example, I wanted to find, I mentioned before, like a 53 or 54, let's say Mantle card. Let's go pick a 54 Bowman. So I'm going to type in the year box and type 1954. I'm going to just type in Bowman Mantle and hit enter. So we're going to do a search. We found 192 of them that are available right now, all from whether it be eBay or wherever. We'll see that they range in price. I'm sorting right now high to low price, but we could sort them any way we want. And let's say, for argument's sake, I want to just take a look and investigate this card here, just because it's up in front of me. I'm going to click on the card. I could get it's a nice, it's an older label, PSA 8. It looks like a decent card, though. It's fairly well centered, which catches my eyes. Currently, there's no action on that card right now, but it's sitting at $37,000. One of the things I want to call out to you guys now is some things that nobody has ever seen demoed on AuctionWire before. And for like Sammy, and Jason, if you've used AuctionWire, you may not recognize some of these things that are on my screen right now. So the first thing I'm going to call out is right beneath the current bid price is this idea of a fair market value price. So we're trying to give you some bracket to say this card should safely be between X dollars and Y dollars based on what we know about it. And that's sort of a kind of an interesting formula that we built for that.
Where's that data coming from?
The data is coming from a variety of places. Recent comps, which we'll talk about in a second.
Okay.
Some other mathematics on top of that. Some nearest neighbor data around other peer cards and similar cards and other trajectories out there. But at a high level, some of this data is being provided to us by one of our partners. In this case, a company called Card Hedger.
And does Card Hedger, are they, so there's like obviously a majority of the vintage guys are using like VCP and Card Ladder.
Yeah. Different.
So is there any interaction with them, or is that?
No,
okay.
No, they're the competition.
Okay.
So we're not here to help them. They're not here to help us.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So we're talking about fair market value. Obviously, we have a last sale price over here.
Okay.
If I scroll down a little bit, we kind of have this heat map to say this card sold in the last little while between $8,800 and $37,000 with an average of 17.8. We see some recent prices here going back to June or May or February for the PSA 8. So we saw Memory Lane sold one, Heritage sold one, eBay sold one. We could take a look at some price charts. We come down and look at top tables.
I like the market trend. The trend, that's a really
yeah.
Yeah. So this will show you how these cards are trending. We're going by the time we are going to be showing this feature next week at the show. We're not going to be releasing this feature publicly for probably another 6 weeks.
And if you go below, the pop report is great because, and you got the major grading companies there, which is fantastic because a lot of times obviously there's GemRate. GemRate provides, but even then, the fact that you have all the grading companies there, all the different grades, that's a lot of work.
And this is GemRate data.
Oh, it is GemRate data, and that's great.
PSA down the bottom here, powered by GemRate.
That's great. I mean, to be able to get that one card and get all the major grading companies all in one graph, that's really a boost.
That's the idea. And so we're trying to make, put a little bit of kind of market intelligence together for you. So you'll get a sense on recent sales, you'll get a sense on trending, you'll get a sense on scarcity or population, right? There's all sorts of opportunities here to go after this, but this is just the beginning. I have no interest in building a generic price guide. That market's saturated.
Right.
We don't need another VCP. We don't need another card ladder. But what I really want is and when I was building AuctionWire at the beginning, I told people I want to build what financial people call a Bloomberg terminal. If you come from the financial world, the Bloomberg terminal was a system that financial investment people use to really capture the entire financial market on a single screen. So everything from recent transactions to market data to news to analytics to other types of information I'm building a whole market intelligence platform. And the recent pricing or the comping tool is like, the step one of a 20-step journey. Right?
So I was just going to say, how deep is that journey? Like, how far?
Oh, it's endless. We're going to be building for years.
Okay.
Analytics plays such an important role. Other than maybe real estate, there's very few industries, or we'll call this one a hobby, the industry, that is so rich with data. And once you have a good data, the question that we're trying to solve for is, what can we build on top of the data? What functionality can mine this data and expose learnings and insights about cards and collectibles in different ways?
Right. At the same point in time, making it user-friendly and all of those things that come into play that attract people to want to get on AuctionWire. And I mean, there's so many things that come into play. It's amazing to me.
That's right. And so we're trying to do this. And then the whole takeaway, though, is if I get to the point where I say, I really like this Bowman mantle, and I really want to go chase him, understanding the price, being what the price is, and so on and so forth, it's only one click away at any time. Right? So there's always the big kind of go get the card button on the page. So I click on the go get the card button, and it takes me right over to, in this case, the eBay page, where I could go choose to go place a bid or put on my eBay watch list, whatever I want to do. But now I'm interacting directly with eBay or whomever the selling platform is. Right?
So Brad had a question going back to the web page with the previous sales. Can you see the images of the previous sales to see how that mantle looks compared to other sales?
So I down here. So let's go back and look at the memory lane card from last month. I click on image. Here's the picture.
Wow.
Right. If I want to see the actual listing page, here's the listing page from memory lane.
Amazing. Very, very helpful. Very helpful.
Right. So we'll have pictures front and back. We'll have original listing pages and all the detail that came with them back when they were for sale live.
Yeah.
Because remember, that's our bread and butter, is the live sale. So we understand exactly how to talk to those systems that house those auctions. And we want the ability now to be able just to capture that like a time machine, and then go back to that moment in time when that sale happened and show us what everybody saw back then when it was live.
That's crazy. That's a ton of data.
I'm going to take it one step further just for the fun of it. There's a feature that we're building that is not available right now. So it's always, since day one, been on my screen up on the top, but it's been shut off. It's kind of gray. You can't really click on it.
Right.
It says auction arbitrage, which is kind of a really neat idea. But we needed some of this other data, like pricing data, first to be able to build it. So now that we have pricing data understood, we're going to go finish our arbitrage tool. And what the arbitrage tool is about, think of this as a deal finder. And so imagine, I don't care if you're a collector, a dealer, an investor, whatever role you play, people like deals. And what we want the ability to do is, we know a lot of information about 4 or 5 aspects or characteristics, so we'll call them a card. And the things we want to pay attention to, if we know, of course, let's say 26 million unique cards right now in the system, we know, for example, if it's a buy it now, we know what the price is. If it's an auction, we know what the asking bid is right now at the moment. Right? So that's step one, is what's the current, we'll call it the current asking price of that item. Step two, what's the fair market value of that item? How big is the gap between them? So is this card really $1,000 card that's sitting at $600? Right? Step three, is it in an auction that's ending in the next 2.5 minutes? Where there's just not enough time for that price to truly recover.
Right.
Right? Step four, does that card align in any way with your collecting or buying interest? So do we have a reason to believe you'd have an interest in that card other than the fact that it's a good deal? And then we're going to take these cards that go yes, 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 and surface them right on the screen in front of you at all times, including sending real-time notifications. Hey, this card's ending in 2 minutes, and it's 38% of market value.
Great. More reason someone else to nudge me to buy more cards.
So we want to give an advantage to buyers to be able to buy smart.
Yep.
Right? And we're going to keep layering in data, more sellers, more stuff, more analytics until we get it just right. And it's a long-term proposition. Leighton had to literally twist my arm to the point where I almost broke my elbow to be willing to release this product at this point. Because I'm the type of guy that will be building for another 5 years. I'm the type of guy that say, you know what? I want to add another 100 features. And we made a big list and we said, we'll make those version 2, and version 2 is coming. But for the moment, we said, let's get version 1 in real people's hands, and we'll give them a long-term trial. Some of these other companies give you a week trial or a couple of days trial. We're going to give you 2 months trial.
Right.
Right. And what we want you to do is get in there, because if you're an auction buyer or maybe an auction curious person, we want to make it so that you have access to a handful of auctions, because they're not always open. You mentioned like REA before, or Heritage, or Mile High, or Memory Lane. These auction companies they'll come along, they'll open an auction, they'll run for a week or two, and they shut it down. And they kind of go away for a couple of weeks, and then they come back and do it over again. And the reality is, we want you as a trier of this system to have enough time for whatever auction you want to check out to come along and hopefully open. So we said, let's give plenty of free trial runway. And the only compensation we want during that test drive, feedback. Just tell us what you like or tell us what you don't like. And by the way, I'm not the type of guy who's going to get grumpy when people say, I hate it. In fact, I love when people tell me they hate it.
But then you want to know why. Tell me why you hate it.
Tell me why, and I go away and I fix it.
Right, exactly.
Right? And I'll come back and I'll say, look, it's fixed.
Right.
So Dave from Peacemaker Cards has a question. Is there a way to sort our save searches to put our most wanted cards at the top of the list?
That's a great question, and the answer is no, not yet, but I'd like to take that under consideration and do it for you.
How would you even, God, I can't even imagine, how do you process that? How do you process that? I guess there'd have to be a little more interaction with the buyer to be able to say, this is what, this is 1 on my list, this is 2 on my list.
We could put favorites, we could put little stars on these things.
Right.
Right, there's all sorts of things we could do. And so there's ways that a user can indicate this one's more important than that one. And
so I'm going to put this in the chat, but if anybody here that's watching is interested, want to try AuctionWire, get a free 60-day trial, you can use the code Thunder for me. Send me Thunder. Use the code Thunder when you sign up, and the website is listed in the chat. It's linkable, so you can click on it and you can sign up.
The only thing I want to call out, remember, it's auctionwire.ai, not .com.
Correct. And it's listed in there, auctionwire.ai. Yes.
So the reason why that there's some guy in Canada had the .com and he wanted to sell it to me for $50,000.
Oh,
and I got the .ai for $4.95.
Right.
So I was all in on the .ai.
Yeah, makes total sense. It's like someone buying a Julia Roberts name for her .com, right? And then they hold you hostage. That's craziness.
I'd like just to say one final thing to the folks taking the time to hear this story. I don't want AuctionWire to become Marc and Leighton's thing. I want this to be a community project. I want this to be a by collectors for collectors kind of tool. And so I am hungry for feedback, good or bad. I'm hungry for suggestions and ideas. I want to hear what people think. And it's never no such thing as a bad idea. I want ideas. I want suggestions. I want anything you can share with me. And I'm just going to suck it all in and go do something about it. And I think what happens is I want people to really rightly feel they made a contribution to this project with their suggestion. I want to make a Sammy Thunder idea happen here. I want to make, Jason, one of your ideas happen, right? And give you full credit where it's due back to you for having that thing be your suggestion. And I open that up to anybody hearing my voice here. I want everybody to know this is an open door. I want their feedback. I want them to, it's a no risk trial. So, come in and try it out, knock yourself out for 2 months with this thing. Either love it or hate it. worst comes to worst, you hate it, just tell me why. That's all I ask. That's my only ask is don't just tell me you don't like it. Tell me I don't like it because. At which point then it's on me to go fix.
Sure. No, I think you guys you've hit the ground running. I understand the process of you wanted to add 100 things and Leighton had to twist your arm to get it out there. I think that's a good thing. Everything is a work in progress, even when especially when you're starting. So to be able to see some of the cool things that are coming out that you guys are going to show at the National is a huge bonus. I did see in the comments a couple people saying, "Oh, that's going to be awesome," guys who are already on. So, that's something to look forward to. Just even seeing that from the people who are watching this.
So we're going to be set up. AuctionWire is going to be set up along with Leighton at booth 301, 303 next week at the show in the main room. And it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a busy few days over there. But I want to invite anybody who wants to learn more about this. Come by. I'll do a private demo. We got cool giveaways. Got really nice stuff to give people as gifts. Just stop by and see us. We want the company. We want you to come hang out with us for a while and get to know us better.
That's fantastic. No, that's very cool. And again, you said booth 301 and 302?
301, 303.
303. Okay, gotcha. We'll make a visit, Sammy. We'll go over there and pay a visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, come hang out with us. It'll be nice to meet people. And like you said earlier, there's people I think of as friends in this hobby that have always been just electronically connected with me that I've never met in person. And I'm looking forward to kind of breaking the ice and meeting people in person.
Yeah, that's always nice. That's the bonus to this whole community, getting to do this and then get the face-to-face time at shows at Strongsville and National and things of that nature. It's,
exactly.
And you build friendships for life. Shoot, I
love that. I mean, I gave a little bit of a talk at Strongsville, and I was talking about a couple of C's. I said we all have our cards being a C, but I said more important, I love the community.
Yep.
And I said for me, that's the big C with the capital letter C, is kind of community. And to be just a small part of this wonderful community means everything to me.
Call Shot Cards had a question. I'm a user of the site. We'd be able to filter items by sport. Several auction sites like Heritage allow you to just search for baseball, for example.
Only in the title string right now, but we're going to get that much smarter in the next month or two. Awesome. And so do I have 2 minutes? I want to give the listeners just a quick thing that we're working on real quick.
Sure.
This answers his question a little bit. The search that we built today is really, think of it as a keyword search. Right? It's a simple, basic keyword search. But the reality is, people learn how to do things on eBay with eBay searching, where you have like the Boolean stuff where you could do like plus this, minus that, whatever. Right. That's too hard. You need to be like an advanced math person to be able to do that. Instead, we said, we're all getting used to now talking to like ChatGPT, right? Or some kind of chat AI system. Why can't we rig up, instead of a search bar, why can't we rig this up where you can chat? And in effect, in your own way of explaining what you're looking for, in your own words, in your own language, your own thought process, just write it out. I want this type of card from this parameter, and the AI will figure out exactly what you meant. You don't have to express it a certain way and risk getting it wrong. The AI will get it right for you, and it'll go find whatever you're looking for. It'll interpret what you're asking, and then go back and try to find those things for you. So to go back to the question about more intelligent searching, we're going to try to up the ante significantly and not just kind of give what the other guys have. We're going to go a level further and really make something unique again. And I mean, look, in this day and age, if we're not building with everything with AI first in mind, we're kidding ourselves, right? This needs to be an AI thing. And we're going to exploit AI every which way we can.
Yeah, you almost have to. If you're not exploiting, if you're not using AI, you're already behind the times at this point in time. So
at this point,
you have to.
Yes, we're definitely going to be set up in Philly. Leighton and I are going to share the booth there too. So come see us in Philly, if not in Chicago next week. We're going to try to make the rounds. Shows are fun. It's a connection point for us. Yeah. They're fun to see people and see cards and just talk shop, and we're there.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm excited. You'll see me. We'll get that. We'll shake hands, definitely, Mark.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right. So Again, just wanted to post this in the chat. I've been doing it periodically, but just want to make sure that it is shared. If you do want to sign up, the link is in the chat right now. Use the code Thunder. Get the free 60-day trial. You can try everything out that Marc has been talking about and that he demoed. Have a lot of fun searching for cards that maybe it's combination of discovery and intent.
Yep.
So, Marc, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. Going through this was a great demo, and actually it really expanded my eyes a little bit on some of the additional features, because really I was just searching for Mathewson stuff and kind of scrolling down, but being able to kind of look at like past sales and the pop reports and getting great photos. That's another thing, is that you want to get great photos too, and it just getting all of that in one place, top notch.
Yeah, and Sammy, you're a data cruncher. I mean, you do it even for your content. You lay data out, and if it's a one-stop shop just to get that data, it makes things easier.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, So again, Marc, thank you so much. I appreciate.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see. We'll definitely see you next week for sure. And I want to thank everybody in the chat as well. I appreciate you guys chiming in, asking great questions. And for those going to the National, we'll see you next week. For those that are not, keep a lookout for content. There's going to be tons of it from myself, from Jason, from Marc and Leighton, I'm sure, and from a variety of people in the community. So everybody have a great rest of your night. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.